right, heated rivalry time. I have been dying to do this video ever since episode 1. I'm not even going to front you. So we're going to do a full review of the entire season, episode by episode. Just a heads up, if you are watching this over on TikTok, it's going to be long. But to help you out, depending on how long this is, I might actually do this in parts where I only cover one episode at a time for y'all. But for YouTube, you're going to get the full thing in one video. Let's do it. So jumping into this series, I didn't know anything about it. The only thing that I knew was that it was being directed by Jacob Tierney, and I watched both Letterkenny and also Shoresy. I love him. So I was just like, you know what? Why not? And the fact that it was also a hockey show where that's his, bread and butter, I was like, you know what? Let's do it. And I was not disappointed. Now, to preface, if you do not know Heated Rivalry and you're just randomly clicking on this video, just know it is very explicit, but it's meant to be for a mature audience. So there is sex and there is nudity and everything in between. But I love the fact that when you are watching this show, yes, it is very much hockey smut, but there is so much more that goes into this series that really does give it its own flair. And that's what we're primarily going to talk about today. But anyways, before we can do that, let's just jump straight into episode 1. Above my head, you should be seeing the scenes that we're discussing and just overall references that we are going to be discussing throughout each review for each episode. So pray for me when it's time to edit this. So the first thing I want to point out is how straightforward the character introductions were for both Shane and Ilya. I think when you are introduced to any sort of series, most of the time you are going to be either inched in with one main character or the other. It's rarely ever both at the same time. And the fact that we as an audience are being introduced in this way, it feels like we're on equal footing. Like one character isn't meant to be favored above the other. Both characters matter at the same time. There's like a balance there. And then it's like being on equal ground gives you the opportunity to see them both. Instead of you having to reflexively choose your favorite character based on the first person that you see like most people do, it gives you the opportunity to make your own first impression decisions off of their personalities alone at the same time. And they are very drastic personalities, and I really do enjoy that, and I think that's why I enjoy their dynamic, especially early on, so much. Ilya brings a entirely different world to Shane than we see from Shane's everyday life. And we'll definitely see this, throughout this episode, but throughout the entire series, even all the way up to episode 6, and how each of their characters evolve over time. But anyways, let's keep going. Now, the first thing that I really do like is that they're both showing to be studying one another. Ilya is watching Shane while Shane is watching Ilya. And that's such a cool early perspective because we're seeing immediately that they're not taking each other lightly. And I think the most addicting part about this series is just seeing them trying to one-up one another on many different fronts. Records, scoring points, everything. It just feels personal. Shane is very clearly the more methodical one, by the book, focused in doing everything he can to be the best person, be the best athlete that he can be. While Ilya, on the other hand, just feels like he's just vibing, he's just going with the flow. And if he's met with a force, he's going to equal that force. And I love this about these two because they are very competitive, and Ilya very clearly feeds off of the pressure that Shane puts on. So if Shane is going hard, Ilya is going to go even harder. And I think that's why I love Ilya's character so much. Shane is fantastic, but the way that Ilya molds himself to be whoever he needs to be in order to match the energy of that person, it's so nice. It's so refreshing to see. And I do think very early on, Shane even notices this too with Ilya, though there is definitely a bit of denial and caution mixed in with their, very early encounters. Shane, he joins the party. And the most interesting thing about Ilya is the fact that he always makes his intentions aware, either by physical contact or the way he looks at Shane. Everything is just very calculated. Like he's just chilling Shane with his eyes. I want you. I choose you. And as time begins to pass, you see this, bond and this relationship flourish. And my favorite scene is when the two of them are both shooting this commercial together that Ilya set up. And they just cannot keep a straight face. The moment that they're closed down on one another, they just immediately just start cracking up. And I love this because one, Ilya from the very beginning, the very first scene in the show, he feels so closed off and just so like guarded. But when he's around Shane, it's just very obvious that he feels free. And there's not a moment that in that scene where it feels like he's trying to be fake or hard or just like this tough guy with a tough exterior, like the big manly man or anything like that. He's having genuine fun. And not only that, but Shane is equaling out on that fun too, where we've only seen him being dead serious, hard set on his career, hard set on all of these different brand deals that he's trying to secure. And the fact that we see them both unwind here is just such a good feeling. And then, of course, we have the shower scene, and woo, all right. I think I love, I obviously it's hot, but I think I love this scene so much just because of the fact that they both allow their curiosity, Ilya more than Shane, but they let the curiosity get the better of them. And it's abundantly clear that there is a level of attraction between them that both of them want to explore. That's obvious, by the way, that, obviously what Ilya is doing. And then the fact that Shane just simply says, not here. Instead of denying anything, it's more of like a cautionary objection. And this is fantastic. So when Shane gives Ilya his room number, you can see very right off the bat that he does not know what he's doing. I mean, the man is in a suit. It's very clear that Shane is the inexperienced one between the two of them. He doesn't know how to dress. He doesn't know how to act. Everything just feels so foreign to him because this is all new territory. Where do I put my hands? Do I turn on the light? Do I turn off the light? How should I sit? Nothing feels natural to him anymore. But he knows no matter what, he's coming. By the way, before we get to the scene where Ilya does show up, just note this part with the mom because I think this is the funniest part ever because they had the best opportunity to bring this up in episode 6 when they tried to actually pinpoint when they first met. And the fact that Yuna is actually there technically when Ilya is on his way to see her son. It's just icing on the cake. I would have died laughing if they made that direct connection while they were all sitting around the dinner table. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's stay on the episode that we're on. It is finally time, and I am in love with this entire sequence. Again, yes, it's hot, but the fact that this entire scene, this entire interaction is based off of nothing but trust and allowing Shane to be curious and allowing Shane to go at his own pace, it's beautiful. And again, it's showing that side of Ilya where he is showing that he is being mindful. He does not want to ruin Shane's first time. He doesn't want to force him to do anything that he does not want to do. He asks consent. Everything here is like textbook first time developments when you are trying to be with someone for the first time. You don't want their first time to also be their first bad memory. You know what I mean? And I love the fact that we see Shane acting in his curiosity instead of this being like this weird push away, push away, push away. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Shane goes in. This isn't this kind of one-sided, teach me this, Ilya. I don't know how to do this. This is Shane, acting. And I like to think in his mind, he was probably wondering, I want to try this, so let me do this. I wonder if Ilya would like this, so let me try this. And I think my favorite part of that entire scene is when Shane sits up and they both just laugh. Like, we just did this. We just did that. And neither of them feel shameful. Neither of them feel embarrassed. It's just like, yeah, I'm glad that we did this. And it's only when Ilya leaves the room, when Shane kind of gets all bashful and he covers his face and he's just like, oh my God, did I really just do that? But at the same time, I like to feel that in that moment, he feels like he misses him. Like he just left, but I want him back already. Is that okay? Is this normal? Now, in regards to Shane's parents, I love them both. I think Yuna and David are just fantastic parents, and especially during the end, you know what I mean? But it's very clear that when it does come to his parents, he has no intention of letting on the actual rivalry that he has with Ilya. And what I mean by that is more specifically that they are actually not enemies. Obviously he's not going to tell them what they're doing. But when it comes to, the relationship that they are building, he would much rather them believe that they are just heated rivals on and off the ice. And another thing that I love is the fact that they are constantly watching each other's interviews. Shane watches Ilya's interviews, and also Ilya watches Shane's interviews. And it's just such this interest 3 months later. They haven't seen each other in 3 months by that time. And this interest is still ignited for both of them. Because no matter what, whether they're in the same room or not, they still take up the same space. They're in the same industry at the same level. And that, that competitive nature is not going to go away just because of one fling for now. Now, let me talk about this joint interview because this joint interview is so good to me. Like when Ilya has these nerves, Shane nudges him with his foot, and I love like these little scenes like this, these little like gestures that they make. It's just so good to me. It feels like they truly do care about one another, and that Shane is even going out of his way to look after Ilya in public, so he doesn't embarrass himself or he doesn't look silly, and he even covers for him as well when he's not able to provide like a proper response, and it just feels so comforting. Like it feels like you are just wearing the nicest, warmest plush blanket on planet Earth in the dead of winter. And it's just such a nice feeling to have, knowing that someone has your back. And I love the actual scene where they're both trying to beat each other's records. And like Scott Hunter just had a record, then Ilya beats that record, and then out of nowhere, immediately after, Shane beats Ilya's record. And it's just like a constant battle of who's going to be the best. And it feels natural, and it feels like I'm not gonna let you win, you're not gonna let me win, so let's battle it out on the ice, that kind of thing. And at the same time, it is still, I will see you in room 1221. And speaking of that scene, I love the fact that Scott Hunter does this kind of side eye, like, I think that was my first little clue that Scott had his own thing going on, and he was onto them. But either way, I love just their relationship is fantastic so far. As far as early relationships go, or rather situationships go, it feels fresh. It feels like both of them want more, but they know that they can't have more than what they have going on right now, and they're content with that. As long as they get to see one another, then fine. And when they are together, they waste no time. And I just, again, love the fact that no matter through it all, it's just consensual. And when the idea is brought up to take things further, Shane is very honest and tells Ilya that he's not that experienced, but he wants to do it, but just not here. Because Scott Hunter is in the other room. But, again, there is just this level of respect and just overall care that these two have, and patience. They have so much patience, because if they can't do this today, then that means that they have to wait even longer to do it next time. And I think the crazy part about all this is the fact that they hadn't had each other's numbers until this moment. And the fact that, like, I feel like if I were Shane in this situation, or even Ilya at this point, I would feel like this is like unlocking a whole new realm of possibilities. And it is. Though I do kind of wish they tested each other more often. I love the fact that they are at least communicating under the guise of girls, Ilya being Lily and Shane being Jane. But it's a step. Now, let me tell you about my biggest scare, though, because I think this is probably when I kind of like audibly gasped when we met Svetlana, because I thought I was like, oh no, Shane's about to get his heart broken, because I thought Svetlana was going to be Ilya's girlfriend. And very quickly, though, actually within the same episode, it's very clear that both of them, they weren't together, but rather it was kind of just like a friends with benefits type of thing. And she is insanely cool. Like, she is just like, honestly, she's what every friend needs in terms of loyalty. I love her character. We'll get more into her as episodes pass, but we're nearing the end, so let's stay on track. It is finally time to choose the Rookie of the Year. And of course, we know that this goes to Shane. And this is the first kind of sign to Shane of how Ilya is when he does not get the outcome that he wants so bad, and stacking that up with, family expectations, because he does have a lot riding on him, which we're going to get to again later in the next episode, actually. But knowing all the effort that he's putting into this and it not being enough, it very clearly dampens the mood for him. And obviously Shane calls him out on this too, reinforcing the idea of you can't always get your way. And also the actual entire premise of heated rivalry, this is going to happen between them. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but at the end of the day, how are we going to let that affect us? And I think that's the best way to actually end your episode, because Again, that is a reminder of what type of show that this is going to turn out to be. Are we going to let these sports come in the middle of what we are, or will we let that simply just be our job and leave our job on the rink and then everything else outside of it? And that is the end of episode 1. Overall, I think I would rate episode 1 a 9.5. I loved the setup. I loved the character introductions. Everything felt fast paced in the best way possible. There's so much time that's covered in singular episodes like this. It can definitely dampen the mood, and I understand that a lot of people might have wanted things to be slower paced, but working with what you have, they did a fantastic job at both, showing the audience what to expect from Shane and Ilya, and even the people that are depending on them. But it was just fantastic. So let's go ahead and jump over into episode 2. The start of episode 2 is fantastic. Ilya's back home, Shane's back home, and they are both texting one another. And I love the fact that it's showing that their texting is, I like it. I think my ears were just burning red throughout this entire scene, right? And they play on the ice. They actually do keep that level of intensity while still competing. But when they are off the ice, that's when they're both just them again. And what I love so much about this is the fact that it doesn't affect their relationship that they have going on right now. They're still very much playful and are into this entire, Jane and Lily thing. Like, there's this one moment where Ilya replies to Shane and he's just like, like, what's a girl to do on a lonely night out in Montreal or something like that. If I said that right, I'm so proud of myself because I don't have the episode up in front of me. But I love this just because of the fact that like you have like this very, again, playful ass nature in this like rough Russian guy. On the ice, he is a menace, but on the phone, it's just something entirely. And there's this other moment where he's just like, want to come while you're in Boston? And Shane is just like, what you wrote makes zero sense whatsoever. And Ilya responds by saying, oh yeah? Well, how about you try reading that again? I love Shane's face. I have to remember to actually put it up. But it's just like, it's so cute. And I swear these two, out of all the romance, I read so much romance, but like these two are just so addicting. And this is before even anything has been made official yet. They are both still very much in a situationship, but you can tell they want more. And speaking of more, Mr. Ilya, calm down. While Shane is sharing a room with his best friend Hayden, the two of them are sexting. And there's one moment where Ilya is just like, hey, this is where to go if you want to get what you want. And Shane's just like, oh yeah, well, what do I want? And I can't show it, but Ilya shows him what he wants, But but again, their relationship is just so infectious. Like watching this for the first time and even just thinking about it now, I'm just I'm just smiling uncontrollably. But the entire thing with them is just, I was just glad to know that it's working out. Obviously, texting will never be enough, but at the point where they are right now, at least it's holding them over. Now, what really gets me though is when Ilya begins to text Shane even during the beginnings of their games. And this part I was a little nervous about because sometimes Shane texts very matter-of-factly. Like some of his responses are just so charged that I thought that like that was going to ruin something. But luckily that didn't happen. And after all the backspaces and stuff, Shane finally just responds to Ilya's question. And he's just like, I don't know, maybe like twice. Like the comedic timing, everything about this episode, I mean, honestly, this entire series, but this episode in particular, especially with this exchange, is just gold. And then the time comes where Ilya meets with Shane at his apartment. He Mr. Real Estate for real, by the way. But they do this very cute thing where they're going up the stairs, and out of nowhere, it's the most boyish thing ever, but like they both just start pushing each other out of the way, just racing up the steps. It's so good. And I love the fact that like there's never a moment that doesn't feel authentic between them. Now this is the night where they actually do it for the first time, and I think it is just so romantic. It's steamy, it's sexy, and everything about it feels right. Again, I love the fact that they continuously showed the consent, and that they kept showing that Ilya is being caring and he wants to make sure that this, first time experience isn't ruined, and it's something that Shane enjoys just as much as he does. And by the end of it, they still have that chemistry, and honestly, I was amazed that both of them, remained composed, and neither of them asked, "What are we?" But again, they are both very well aware of the situation, that they have been dealt, the cards that they've been dealt, and they're okay with it for now. But the gnawing question is always going to be, how long can they truly be okay with just this? And that's what started to worry me personally, because I can only imagine things just being, reignited to, an all-time high when you are with that person. And then when they leave, you go all the way back down to what you were when they were gone. And knowing that you won't get that potentially months at a time, that hurts, It's lonely, especially for someone like Shane who has a very different social life compared to Ilya. It makes you wonder, is this really gonna work? Or rather, how long can this work? And then we get this scene with Shane, Scott, and I think his name is Vonnie. And Shane invites them to his friends, his name was Joe, I think, to his men's short form figure skating competition. And Vonnie says that, like, yeah, of course, I'll show up for anybody who's that brave. And this kind of, sets off an alarm in Shane's head and also somebody else's. Hi, Scott. And they're both just like, what do you mean? And Vonnie explains, and he's just like, well, being gay in Russia is very bold. Him going out there like that so openly, deserves some level of respect because he's being so brave. And I really want to highlight Scott's face here, because I love the fact that in the next episode that we'll talk about in a second, obviously in episode 3, but I love the fact that we do get to see his, facial reaction as well, just because of the fact that this just as much affects him as it affects Shane, even though the two of them haven't talked about it. But hearing this, Shane pulls out his phone and immediately, and I mean immediately, texts Ilya. And while they're there, actually, Ilya is also there, but he's not with Shane. He goes up to Ilya, who's all alone. He asks, you didn't answer my text. Is everything okay? And Ilya just snaps at Shane. And again, that's just another thing with them where like Ilya is always just so inconsistent with his emotions. Like you have somebody actively trying to, reach out to you, whether it's just to see how you are or to hang out with you, and you respond by saying, no, I didn't want to respond to your boring text or whatever he said. I don't remember the exact wording. But, you have this moment where it's just like almost like a little red flag of being like, okay, this is one of those issues where like we can't do this if you aren't going to open up to me or if you're not going to communicate, because this only works if both of us are capable of communicating with one another without the other person leaving the other on red and yelling at them when we do see each other in person. And then we get the scene with Ilya's father, and that broke me, bro. Like just thinking about it hurts my heart. So Ilya's father is he has dementia. And it's rough. I mean, he doesn't know where he is most of the time. He forgets that he has another son. He forgets that his wife is dead. Everything just feels like it's just crashing and burning around Ilya. And this is the first time where we, as the audience, actually sees on a deeper level what Ilya has to deal with when he is back at home. And that the person that he, cares about and is trying to impress is slowly just withering away, and it's just such a painful sight to see. And the look on Ilya's face too is just so heartbreaking. Oh my god, I don't even have it in front of me and I'm about to cry, but it's just so heartbreaking. But thank God for Svetlana, because this girl really holds Ilya down when he's back at home. I'm like, oh my god, I don't know who can hate this woman, because she is just everything that you need in a friend. Like I said in episode 1, like she is completely down for Ilya, and I love that about her. And then we meet Sasha, the person that Ilya was hooking up with before everything, and he is a party goer. And I guess it also gives you a glimpse at the type of person that that Ilya was prior to, you know, this new career that he decided to take. But I do want to highlight this one thing with Svetlana. She is, I feel like she's going to be every straight guy's dream. The way that she speaks about hockey so in depth is just, it's attractive. Like it's very obvious that this isn't just like a cute little game for her or anything. Like she's deep in this world too, and she's showing that, you know, this shit is serious for me too. I might not be on the ice, but I know everything that I need to know about it to keep up with you. But anyway, Svetlana leaves Ilya alone with Sasha, and I'm very curious if we're going to see Sasha again after, you know, this season. Obviously, he does not show back up for the rest of the season. But I am very curious to see what they're going to do with this character if he does reemerge. But to that point, Ilya does reject Sasha's advancements. Good on you. I am so proud of you, Ilya. Keep good for your man. But also at the same time, it could have just been the fact that today has not been the best of days, especially when you factor in what we now know about his father and what he literally just experienced maybe only 15, 20 minutes ago. So I get it. And now it is game time, and Ilya wants that cup against San Francisco bad. And we actually see that Shane is watching with his teammates, and I got chills, like literal chills, just watching Shane watch his men on the ice. Because like, I'm about to tear up again. Because like you can see, one, how bad he wants it, and two, how happy and almost just like how much he just wants to cheer for this guy. Maybe even mixed with a little bit of competitiveness, being like, I need to step my game up. Like you can see the tears welling in his eyes, and it just like you can tell he feels that. And it makes you wonder if he feels that way just because he wishes that he was there, or maybe he feels that way because he wishes that were him. There are so many different types of feelings that he could be feeling in that exact moment. It could be all of those things. But the fact of the matter is, he's sitting on that couch while Ilya is having the best day of his life right now. And no matter how you look at it, that just gets you going and can even be seen as heartbreaking. Now, one thing though, because while they're giving away the Lord Talon Award, Ilya does something bold as hell. While they are on stage facing these people, he runs his hand down Shane's back and on his ass, or the small of his back, and I'm just like, what? Then Shane rushes into the bathroom, and he does a small detail where he looks under the stalls to make sure that no one is there before he has this episode, or potentially Ilya shows up, which we of course know that he does end up showing up. And it's not really a sweet moment, or at least not at first, because like Shane is like, what do you want from me? You know, you haven't texted me in 6 months, and then you show up out of nowhere. Like the entire thing is a very real and fair, thing to ask, because now he's just showing up and he's acting like nothing ever happened. Like there are moments where Ilya just shows up like they just saw each other yesterday. And it feels, in a way, even I would have felt insulted. I would have been like, what? Excuse me? Like, how dare you? But obviously we know how, the way the scene ends is, there's a little bit of teasing, and it's so cute, but he really does blue ball Shane here. It's just like, I won't do this here, but after we're done with this awards show, and after I make you wait all that time, then and only then, maybe I'll give you what you want. And it's just like, man. Now that's some incentive. But the deal ends up being that the person who wins MVP, whether that be Shane or Ilya, they get to have the other person do whatever they want. And guess who won? Ilya Rozanov. Now Ilya tells Shane to get undressed, right? And Shane does as he's told, but before he removes the underwear, he's just like, that's a lot of windows. And there is a lot of windows now. And speaking of windows, that's like a theme throughout this entire show. There's a lot of windows everywhere. But anyways, Ilya is like, fine. So he drags a chair into the next room where there's less windows. And he's like, all right, let's get started. Now, Ilya is just sitting down in his little observer chair while Shane is on the bed and he's just like, touch yourself. And I was like, oh, shoot. But again, he has to do whatever the MVP says. That was the deal. So Shane does it. And this is the first time either of them says this, but it's Shane that actually initiates. And he says, I need you. I want you. To do what? Oh, if I didn't have to be YouTube friendly, I would show the scene. But again, you have Shane here initiating, saying what he wants. Instead of just like being a go with the flow type of guy, he is making himself known and he's communicating clearly what he wants. Then the two of them lay in bed and everything is awkward after you get down and there's nothing left to say. But after small attempts at them trying to do small talk, Shane ends up leaving because both of them have early mornings. And then like the camera pans over and you just see Ilya's face and he just feels out of it. Like he doesn't even feel like he's fully even present. And then this part just broke my heart. But you have Shane in the elevator alone and he's trying to, be happy. And the first thing he says is, I think it's like, I will see you soon next season or something like that. And then he backspaces it. And instead he types, we didn't even kiss. And then he backspaces that. And then all he says is just, fuck. And I felt that, bro. Because it's so clear that he wants more, But when the person you with doesn't reciprocate that, that sucks. All right, let me take a break so I can collect myself. All right, woo. That episode is an easy 9.8 for me. I loved that episode. I just think in terms of everything that we need emotionally, it puts so much on the table, not just for Ilya, but also for Shane as well, and what he wants from this relationship. It's clear that he wants so much more, but he's refraining from saying exactly what this is because he's scared that Ilya is going to scare Ilya away. Especially seeing how Ilya reacted to him on the rink, it makes sense why Shane is now reluctant to say anything, just given the fact that how easy it is for Ilya to push people away. It's fair for Shane to not want to know the answer or even risk Ilya not responding to that just because it was boring. Like, imagine if he did send that text and Ilya just never responded and then they never saw each other again for months on end. In that situation, I think I would have done exactly what Shane did there. Because that's a form of comfort, in terms of guarding yourself, guarding your emotions from potential heartbreak after realizing that that person does not love you as much as you love them. Or rather to say that person is not as interested in you as you are interested in them. Because maybe it is too early to say whether or not they love one another, even from Shane's perspective, even though he is falling head over heels for Ilya. But what is undeniable is that there is attraction there. And that's something that he wants to explore, but he just feels like he doesn't have the current capacity to do so. But anyways, now let's go over to episode 3. Of the 3 episodes so far, this is by far my favorite. And what I really love about this episode is how we go by going back in time to get Scott's point of view after that initial conversation from episode 2, and we jump back 4 months ago to get Scott's point of view. Now, Scott meets this guy named Christopher, otherwise known as Kip. And I think, honestly, this is probably one of my favorite little interactions. I'm always into the bubbly kind of stuff, so hey. But very early on, it's very clear that Scott has a thing for Kip almost immediately. So Kip makes him a special blueberry banana smoothie, and I think this is going to be the start. Well, we know this is the start of a beautiful relationship. And Maria catches on to this immediately, and she's just like, girl. I love everyone's friend groups in this show, but we'll get to that later on. So then they get another guest, and that person reveals, oh my God, that person that just walked out is Scott Hunter. And neither of them exactly know who he is, and they're surprised, like, oh, he's a famous hockey player. Oops. And one more time, Maria's just like, girl. And then this is when the interest in hockey begins, or curiosity begins for them, because they then go back to a gay sports bar and they throw on hockey just to see, can we see him on TV? And lo and behold, he shows up, and that confirms that is him. That is Scott Hunter. That's the same guy that liked my smoothie and gave me that big ass tip. And then Scott shows up again. And the thing about this second time is Kip knows about this now. So now he's actually kind of excited. He's like, oh my gosh, okay. And Scott, being the superstitious type, he orders the same smoothie again. And Kip obliges. And then we meet Elena, and she... best girl number 2. All the female cast in this series is phenomenal, by the way. Oh my God. But yeah, now we have met the best friend of Kip. And she straight up tells him, all right, now you know, he has a little schedule going. What are you doing on Saturday? Because you need to make sure that you're working the days that he comes in. And he ends up not having a shift, and she's like, change that. And he does. So now we have Kip actually taking the initiative, or rather he's making an effort to be there when Scott's around, and maybe something can bloom from this. And it absolutely does in the best way possible. And I'll actually try to remember to throw up a picture, but the way that Kip looks at Scott is just so beautiful. But Kip is a little bold at one point, and he says to Scott directly, or rather he says that all the hockey players look like hot lumberjacks to him, and it was really awkward because Scott doesn't reply right away. And Kip's like, oh shoot, I might have ruined it, especially if he's not gay. But Scott takes that as a hint, being like, oh shoot, not just lumberjacks, but hot. Does that mean he's calling me hot? Do I got a chance here? There's so much. I feel like there's just so much going on inside of Scott's head at that moment. And that's what makes him actually invite Kip to watch one of his games. And Kip ends up going with, of course, Elena. And again, this is just like, she's so supportive. But anyways, I love the fact that while he's there, Scott does this drive-by wave, not once, but twice, just to make sure that he knows, just to make sure that that Kip knows, I see you, and I'm waving at you, Kip. Thanks for coming. And I'm with Elena here because she's just like nudging Kip, like, oh my God, that's definitely something. There's something going on here. Pursue that shit. And then something wild happens. Oh my God. So while they're on the ice, Shane comes up to Scott and he says something along the lines of like, hopefully, by the next time we play, you show up. And honestly, to me, that's like a harmless little chirp. But Scott, Scott ain't taking it. And he says, okay, first off, that's a cheap shot. And then he tells Shane, you're starting to sound like him. Hint number 2 that he knows about Shane and Ilya. And it's just that moment, I let out the loudest audible gasp. Shane's like, what'd you just say? And he's like, you heard me. And then both of them, they start to try to fight each other. And Kip sees this. The entire thing is just like, oh no, the gays are fighting. But I do like this fact from Kip that he's keeping up with Scott's games. And by the way, Kip's father is fantastic. He is fully supportive. He's loving. And I love the relationship that he has with his father. Like, for example, when his father says, I love you or something, and Kip doesn't say it back. Like, for example, he might say, you too. His father's just like, excuse me, what? And then Kip corrects himself and he says, I love you too. It's just such a warm relationship that he has with his father, and I love it. But anyways, fast forwarding, Kip has yet another gig, and this time it's a catering gig, and he's given a tray of food to serve out, and he bumps into none other than Scott Hunter. And it's just like a very awkward situation, but luckily, again, it's somebody that he knows, so at least it's not going to get him in too much trouble. And then once Kip talked to his friend one more time, he's like, calm down. You're good. You're fine. I know you need this job. I'm not going to fire you. Just do what you came here to do. And I love that. Again, his friends everyone has such good support systems, and it really does feel like they're all ride or die for one another. But fast forwarding, Scott asks Kip if he wants to go get food with him, and they surprisingly end up doing it. It's very this is what surprised me, just because of the fact that it's still kind of like a public thing. We're going to go out to get Mexican food, stuff like that. But they end up not being able to do that just because there's a long line outside. So Scott does the next best thing. He invites Kip over to his place. Now Scott's place is gorgeous, and immediately I'm just like, holy shit, we're about to do exactly what I think we're about to do, aren't we? And the camera like pans, and we see that like Scott already has his shirt off. He's like, do you want the tour now or? And Kip is just like, oh, I choose or. And Scott's just like, all right, come and get it. Now, of course, I can't show anything about the next part, but they do end up hooking up. And this is the start of a beautiful, I mean, beautiful relationship. And we see the very sharp contrast between Scott and Kip versus someone like Ilya and Rozanov. And there's so much romance here. And again, the level of consent that they do throughout these scenes is just so respectful and mindful. And I love the fact that this just continues to be highlighted throughout the entirety of this show so far. But anyways, you have mindful Kip trying to quietly leave and not wake up Scott because he knows you have a game tomorrow and I don't want to be the reason why you don't perform well. And Scott's just like, no, come here. I want you here with me. So he sits Kip down and he's just like, can you please spend the night? And I'm just like, oh my God. Again, I just love this level of realness and transparency and just overall respect for each other. Kip understanding that Scott is busy and he can't just, lay in bed with him all day, and taking the initiative to be like, okay, I will leave if I need to leave. And then Scott, on the other hand, being like, no, you are not a hindrance to me. I want you here with me. That's why I invited you back in the first place. I want your company. So the two of them get back in bed and spend the night. Now, jumping on to the next morning, we got our boy Kip making that blueberry banana smoothie for him. And I'm just like, man. And this is a fun little detail that I like that Kip brought up. And that's the fact that Scott is very organized. And in terms of getting the ingredients and all that stuff, Kip didn't even have to worry about that. But the two of them share another moment. And again, it's just a very stark difference between what we get from Shane and Ilya with Kip and Scott. And it's never a moment where I'm nervous because both of them are very much on the same romantic wavelength when it comes to knowing what they want in this relationship. And then Scott gets real. And this is the moment where I knew that like this show is going to be so much more than just hot guys and sex. Scott becomes vulnerable and he tells Kip, I don't do this. I don't bring people back to my place. I want you. I want you to be there when I wake up in the morning. I want you to be there when I'm back from practice. I want you to be there when I just come back from a game. I want you here with me. And even when I'm not here, I want that comfort in knowing that you are here when I get back. And it's just such a beautiful moment. Not once does Kip interrupt. Not once does he, shift away in discomfort. He actually gets closer. He closes the distance between them. And then he tells Scott, and I want to be here when you get back. And I will be here when you get back. And it is just so wonderful, bro. But anyways, that I think that is what solidified this entire show for me and changed the trajectory of what I expected from this show when it comes to romance. It had everything. Like there's a rawness with the series that makes you just like, it makes you swoon. It makes you, like believe in love, Yes, in terms of circumstances, both relationships that we're introduced to right now, they are both one made out of secrecy and built off of the understanding that they can't just immediately come out the way that they want to. And though this does prove to be an obstacle a little bit later on that I'm about to talk about, it is something that they try their best to work on and come to terms with. Now, some time goes by, and Kip is very much still, hanging out with Scott and making himself at home, and is so comfy. But there is this one scene that makes me very sad with Kip and his father, where his father is kind of like, "Where are you?" It's been some time, and he begins to lie to his dad. And he's like, "Oh, I'm just sleeping over at Elena's house because it's closer to work," and all that kind of stuff. So he's actively lying to his father just in order to pursue Scott, because he can't be outward with who he's with, because that can put Scott at risk. But he's doing this at the risk of distancing himself not only from his friends, but also his own family, his father, his father that loves him and, is trying his best to actually be supportive. And he's lying about who he's with and, where he is. And it just, it's just sad. But Kip's friends also notice the change in Kip as well, and they call him out on it. The people at the bar call him out, and even Maria back at the smoothie shop calls him out too. And it's just like, okay, well, I know you're dating, so just admit that you're dating. And he just straight up lies to her face as well, and just being like, no, we're not dating. He just likes my smoothies and he's straight. All these things, digging himself deeper and deeper into lies that he does not want to tell these people, all for the sake of the relationship that he wants to happen. And now this leads to the bigger question of, again, like the same question with Shane and Ilya, the question comes back around to, how long can he keep this up before he says, I can't do this anymore? But fast forwarding, Scott then tries to go with Kip to an art gallery, and it does not go well. He already looks very suspicious, but he is on edge, and it becomes too much for him when I guess the curator, I don't remember who it was, but she's asking, if they're just browsing or if they're shopping to buy. And the key word is they. If, as a duo, are just browsing or shopping to buy. And that scares Scott. Because whether she meant it that way or not, he fixed it in his mind for it to mean this woman knows, or at least thinks, that me and him could be a couple. That me and him are shopping for our home. That we are making joint decisions about our personal lives. And upon hearing this, Scott just goes full walls up, and he just leaves. And I love this scene. Man, I swear to God, it feels like I'm about to cry every goddamn episode. But I love when they actually do meet back at Scott's house, and you have Kip trying to comfort Scott. And he's just like, hey, it's okay, don't worry about it. Scott is just profusely apologizing. And Scott's just like, no, what I did there is not okay. And he recognizes that. And you can tell that he truly regretted what he did, and he hated it. And I love that fact. But put simply, he just bit off more than he could chew, because he wants Kip so bad. He wants to be able to do these things, but he just realized in that moment that that was just too much. But after that scene, we see Kip mailing out his application to, I think it's NYU. And this is for grad school. And while he's there, he turns around and he sees, I'm sorry, these socks are hideous, but he sees these socks, and they're blue socks with bananas on them. And he gifts those socks to Scott because he has to leave. And it's a cute moment, but like, I'm just like, oh my God, But this is supposed to signify, like how they met, and just like, keep the tradition going, because every single time before his game, he came in for a blueberry and banana smoothie. And those socks, them being blue and also having bananas on them, remind him of those smoothies. So, if you think about it, it's like Kip being there with Scott, even when he's not physically there. And we know Scott is superstitious. So this is the next best thing if Kip can actually go with Scott. And then we see Scott finally putting on his new socks, and he gets his phone and he takes a picture and he sends it to Kip, and I'm just everything about this relationship just gives me goosebumps. I get tingles. It just feels so good to just see unfold like this. But jumping over with Kip and Elena, she's talking about Scott again and trying to just get Kip to admit that, hey, you are going out with Scott Hunter. Just tell me. Just say it. And he makes it so obvious too. So I mean, like, I completely understand where it's coming from. And then she says, at the very end, you two might be dating now, but at the very least, I still want you to go to my gala or whatever it is, and to be my date. And Kip says, yeah, sure, why not? And then later on, we finally see Kip opening up the text from Scott, and he sees that he took a picture of the blue banana socks, and it's cute. But alongside with that text, Scott says that he can't wait to see him tomorrow, and that he left something in his closet for Kip. And Kip is staring at that closet, and he's like, "Oh my god!" And you want to know what it is? A suit that has a note attached to it that says, "For my man." And I remember just sinking in my seat. It's just, it's so cute, and it's so fitting because Scott has done nothing but show how caring he is for Kip. And it's just like, man. So now fast forwarding to the following night, it is time for Elena to finally meet Scott Hunter, the man that won over her best friend's heart. Oh, and also this is where it's revealed to us, the audience, that lost both of his parents in a very insensitive way. Not by Scott or by Vaughn, but the person that they're talking to. And oh my God, I felt so bad because after Scott and Vaughn leaves, Vaughn tries to comfort him, and Scott just says, "It's okay, I should be used to it by now." And it's just, oh my God. But anyways, now it is finally time for Elena to meet Scott. And it is very awkward, not because of Elena, but because of those two, because of Scott and Kip. For starters, you have Scott complimenting Elena, saying that you look beautiful, and then he turns to Kip and he says, "So do you." And then it's just like, oh wait, no, I didn't mean it like that. And then Elena saves the conversation. Miss Wonder Woman over here, I love her, but she saves the conversation and just says, "Yes, we clean up rather nicely, don't we?" And then she invites Scott to dance. And this scene is so important, and I feel like some people might have misread this scene, and it makes me kind of sad because Elena isn't trying to be the bad guy or anything like that. She's trying to open Scott's eyes. So basically what ends up happening is Elena and them are dancing, and she brings up that Kip is miserable. He works a lot. He has a goal of getting into NYU. He's trying his best to make his dreams a reality, and now he has met you, and you are his world. You make him happy, but I need to know if you are miserable too. And then Scott's just like, "No, I'm not." And then he tells her, "I love him." And she's like, "Yes, that's good, but he does not deserve to be hidden away like this. He may not tell you because that's how much he loves you, but he deserves better than to be hidden in the shadows. He deserves sunlight." And then she tells him, "So do you." And during her entire little monologue to him, we see what she's talking about, where Scott has to go into his limo and drive down the street to pick up Kip. And it's just like, oh my God, he's really hiding Kip away like this. Yes, it may be only temporary, but that's embarrassing. That's kind of like an insult. And that can make Kip feel like, he's either embarrassed of him or just like can't be seen even in the same vicinity as him, so that he has to be picked up down the street like a hooker or something. It's just like, I definitely understand what Elena is talking about, and people kind of misread her situation for her trying to tell Scott, break up with him right now. But instead she's saying Kip doesn't deserve to be hidden away, and you don't either. Both of you need sunshine, so try to be what you both need instead of both of you hiding away like you feel like you have to. Otherwise, this isn't going to work out. And later on, we see that she was right. So once Scott and Kip make it back home, Kip says, "Hey, my birthday's Sunday. I want you to meet my friends. I want you to actually see the people that I'm around. No, they don't know about you. We could just say that you're, just a really good friend, and they already know that you buy my smoothies and you love my smoothies, so this can work." And Scott just straight up says, "I can't do that. No." And you can immediately see the disappointment in Kip's face when he says this. I mean, he even begins to play with his glass because he just can't even look at him. It's just like, oh my God, what was I thinking? And now it's just a matter of, again, when? How long do we have to do this? He tells them, I want to tell people that you are mine and how much I love you and all these things, but this needs time. But we can do this soon. And then right after that, he says, just a few years. And when I heard that, my heart sunk just because of the fact that we all can tell how much Kip and also Scott wants this. But knowing that much time is required for them to be a normal couple when everyone else can just do it whenever they want and announce whatever they want. Scott effectively in that moment is telling Kip to go in the shadows for him. And unfortunately, that is not something that Kip can do. Oh, and by the way, we do get to see what Kip's speech was about, and we learn exactly what ended up happening to both of his parents. They both died tragically in a car accident due to a drunk driver, and how lucky for him he had the St. Thomas Scholarship. And I think this was like where his allegiance, loyalty to hockey stemmed from, and why he is so adamant on seeing this through, and why he can't just jump into this because a lot of people are relying on him. And he feels like he even owes, all of his success to the beginning for him, which was the scholarship opportunities. And I think seeing this kind of helps the audience understand where Scott is coming from even more now. But at the same time, that does not make this easier for Kip. He still is very much stuck. You're basically telling somebody who found the courage to come out of the closet to go back in for you, even if it's just temporary. He said years. And I completely understand where Kip is coming from, where he's just like, no, I can't do this. So then Kip goes home, and his father is actually excited for Kip initially because he just got the letter back from NYU, and he's trying to like hype it up. And then he turns and notices that Kip is not Kip right now. And I'm about to cry again. Fuck. And his father, I love his father. He's like, what's wrong? Like, hey, you can talk to me, that kind of thing. And all Kip says is just like, I'm sorry, like all this time he was lying to him and separating from his father just to be with somebody that he can't be with right now. As much as he wants to, he can't, because that side of him where he has to hide away again, he doesn't want that side back. But I love this scene. Oh my God. But anyways, that's how the episode ends. And it is, it's unfortunate, but that's how the relationship between Scott and Kip ends for now. And then he spends his birthday with his friends, and we get this window pane shot. And then we see when we zoom out that Scott's there, but he's just watching from outside. And my heart is just breaking. And then Scott just like, okay, this is for the best. And he just walks away. And then that's when we are back in present day, and we're all finally caught up, and it's just like, we see Scott still has the socks that Kip gave him on, and he just covers them up now. And it's just like, for me, that's a sign that Scott is telling Kip, wait for me. I'm not forgetting about you. I'm not giving up on you. You're still going to be here with me. So wait for me. And I'm just like, I'm a wreck. But this episode changed my entire look at how I saw this show. Like, wow. It's such a mature look on everything. And I love how everything was depicted. The directing was fantastic. The actual cinematography was beautiful. And it just gets even better, by the way. Like, Jacob Tierney, you did a fantastic job at everything. But, yeah, man. Oh, we're only halfway done. Am I going to survive this recording session? Jeez, I might cut this up. I don't know what I'm going to do. But anyways, I would consider this my first 10 of the season so far. I know some people might not have liked it. I have no idea what happened in the books or the order of events, nor do I care. In terms of the show, they executed it fantastically with the time they were given. I love Shane and Ilya, but this relationship between Scott and Kip really just woke me up, and it really did make me, take Heated Rivalry as a series all that more serious. But anyways, Back on with Ilya and Shane. Let's jump on with episode 4. The beginning of episode 4, called Rose, is like whiplash. You see how drastic the lives between Ilya and Shane are. You have Ilya just clubbing, enjoying life, while Shane's doing brand deals and he's reading and, and all these things. And then, of course, when they meet, that's when they truly reawaken themselves. And it's just so interesting how, like, they're able to tie these in together. Like, on the ice, they hide it well. Like, I remember there was this one shot of Ilya where he's just like staring like he wants to kill somebody, but you know, in his head, all he's thinking about is the next time he gets to put Shane in through the headboard, you know? I love the entire opening sequence, and that being paired with I think the song is called like My Moon, My Man. It's just like, oh wow. Jacob Tierney has amazing song taste. If you've watched Letterkenny or Shoresy, you know they do not miss. It's just mwah. But anyways, skipping forward, we see Shane has finally won a cup, and Ilya is watching this with his friends, and he's just like, it should have been me, like playfully, just like, it should have been me. And then when we cut to Shane, we see he's just on his phone the entire time, while his friends, like his entire team, is just like celebrating, and he's not really taking part, but they're trying to get him involved. And meanwhile, we see Ilya with his father trying to take care of him. And then on the flip side, it's so cool the way that they do this, but like on the flip side, we see Shane with his father, who is healthy, and they're talking business. Like, again, it's just polar opposite situations. Their lives are just so drastically different that it's a wonder that they are compatible at all. And then Shane goes to an aquarium with Hayden. And I like Hayden. I think he's a nice kind of like comedic relief character, but also he's just a good friend too. But they're at this aquarium with all of his badass kids who's running around off screen while he's holding the baby. And Hayden tries to get into Shane's head a little bit. He's asking about Shane's ex, Jessica, if there's anything or anyone that Shane has been seeing. And when Shane says, you know, there's no one like that in his life right now, he then tries to help Shane out by saying, hey, my wife Jackie, she has a friend who does like mommy yoga or whatever it's called. Maybe I can arrange something with her. Do you at least want to see her Instagram? You know, like all these things, because he believes that Shane is lonely. You know, he believes that like Shane just needs a little help. And in doing that, you know, maybe they can do double dates together, you know, that kind of stuff. I love Hayden when it comes to like just like how supportive and how he's trying to help Shane. Of course, he doesn't know, you know, like what the audience knows or what Shane knows, but the fact that he's making an attempt to make sure that Shane is happy and that Shane isn't all about business all the time, it's a nice feeling. By the way, I almost forgot to talk about this scene, but there's a scene where like two girls come up to Shane and ask, hey, can we get a picture with you? But he's holding Hayden's baby. And so then they look over at Hayden and they're like, hey, excuse me, can you hold Shane's baby for us real quick so we can get a picture? And when Shane and Hayden leave, Hayden's just like, well, first off, it's my baby. And second off, they didn't even recognize me. You know? It's so good. I love the overall vibe of Hayden's character. But I just thought that was funny. But anyways, where was I? So Ilya is watching an interview that Shane has, and Svetlana walks in. And she's just like, what the fuck is this? And Ilya tries to play it off and just like, oh, I was so bored, I almost fell asleep, you know, that kind of stuff. And Svetlana looks back at the screen and she's just like, he's hot, you know? Like, I love Svetlana. Like, I don't know how many times I'm going to say this, but it's just like, she just keeps going up and up and up on the charts when it comes to the female characters in this show. I feel like every single female character that we meet in this show is just legendary. But I do think this is Svetlana's way of dropping hints and trying to gauge what Ilya feels about Shane beyond them being just rivals, you know? And even in the car when she brings up Jane, she says it in a way that kind of feels like she knows, rather than just saying, oh, hey, I know that you're talking to so-and-so, or I know that you're talking to a guy. Because it is established that Svetlana is an old friend. Like, they've known each other since childhood. And not only that, but if they have known each other since childhood, that means that she would have also, of course, known Sasha. And we know that Sasha and Ilya had been hooking up. And I just refuse to believe that Svetlana just didn't know what they were up to. And also, what adds to that is the fact that she voluntarily left them alone in the bathroom together. So, like, all this stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, there are so many hints that, supports her knowing, but not wanting to make Ilya feel uncomfortable or make him say anything that he is just purely not prepared to have a conversation about yet. But when they are in the car together, and she does ask, like, I thought you and Jane might be something because y'all have been texting, y'all have been talking for years. Ilya just shrugs it off. And then later on, it is finally time for us to meet back up with our boys, Ilya and Shane, and they meet at his place, and it looks nice. And Shane's Mr. Real Estate brain is just like, hey, who built this? To try to get the inside details so he can probably get something like this. And it's just, again, it's so Shane, and it's so like almost nostalgic, even though for us not a lot of time has passed. But it's like refreshing seeing them together and seeing that Shane is still the same Shane. But after the two of them hook up, we have Ilya then asking Shane, "Are you hungry?" "I'm hungry." And Shane responds back by saying, "Hungry for what?" And I'm just like, one, that could go two ways. It could be like a genuine question like, oh yeah, what are you hungry for, pizza? Or it could be something more, if you know what I mean. So it's cute. And I love to think it's the latter, but either way, it's time for some tuna melts. Now this next part shocked me because Ilya stocked up on ginger ale. Now, we know that this is Shane's drink of choice, and just seeing that Ilya went out of his way to stock up on things that he knows Shane would enjoy is it's just so beautiful and boyfriend material, because we know damn well Ilya is not drinking no ginger ale. And I think Shane realizes this too, and he just, it didn't say anything. But now they're sitting on the couch while the food's getting ready, and it is just so uncomfortable in the way that, like, that's intentional. The space between them, it just feels like that they are just very divided, almost like guards are up. That one little meme that is like 6 feet apart because they're not gay, that kind of thing. But while they're sitting there, the topic of interest comes up. And during this is where Ilya reveals, obviously, that he is, that he likes women as well, that kind of stuff. And this kind of is when Shane kind of begins to feel lesser than, especially when Ilya begins to talk about Svetlana. Because Svetlana and Ilya has so much history, and Ilya tells him that they hook up from time to time, and, she's a very close friend. And in a way, this makes Shane feel kind of insecure, just because, like, well, you're the only one that I got, but you have her and maybe even all these other women that you sleep around with when you're not with me. And it's kind of unfortunate because, like, Ilya doesn't see it that way. Like, he doesn't see it from Shane's lens, where, like, he feels this level of, like, emptiness knowing that Ilya is doing all of these things while Shane is just focused on his career when he is not with Ilya. And then also, still on this topic, Shane's just like, well, I'm also into women, that kind of thing, trying to reinforce himself to let Ilya believe, okay, well, if you're interested in the girls, then so am I. I need you at the same level as you need me, which apparently isn't much in Shane's point of view at this point in time. Because after hearing you're with all these women, I fully understand how Shane could come to this, kind of like defensive countermeasure, or at the very least try to match the energy that Ilya is letting off. But I feel like it's clear as day that this just isn't going to be something that Shane can win when it comes to those type of physical interests. And then Ilya is just like, it's nice to have a regular woman like Svetlana around. And then Shane just shoots back and is just like, do you think she's the only one in Boston that would sleep with you? And Ilya's just like, well, you know me, I'm lazy. And Shane, bless his heart, he's like, I don't know that side of you at all. With the biggest, like, soft, lovey-dovey eyes that you can just spot from a mile away. Like, oh my God. But anyways, now it is tuna melt time. And by the way, I Tuna melt is probably like the least romantic thing that you can eat together. It's such a smelly food. But I mean, hey, while they're talking, he gets a call. And this call goes south fast. Now this phone call just breaks my heart. So it's Ilya's father and he's calling and it's revealed that he's alone. And the thing is, Alexei was the one that was apparently supposed to be watching after his father. And when Ilya asks, "Where's Alexei?" his father's just like, "Who's Alexei?" He had to be reminded that he had another son. That's how bad his dementia has gotten. And not only that, when Ilya asked, "Where's Polina?" his father was like, "Well, who's Polina?" And Ilya had to remind him again, "That's your wife." You know, it's just like it's so painful to watch, and you can just hear the stress and frustration in his voice, and you're just left there. And God, I'm just wondering, like, oh my gosh, how much does Shane hear of this? Because now the entire mood, like to me, I find that entire mood is just now awkward. Like this is that kind of tone that would make me want to start packing up my stuff and getting ready to leave just in case they no longer want to hang out anymore, you know? But Ilya then hangs up with his father and then he calls Alexei and he's just like, "Where are you? Dad's alone right now." And I love, I need to remember to put the shot in, but I love that we have this shot with Ilya and he's somewhat like obscured a little bit. Like the wall is hiding him a little bit. And with our view kind of like obscured like this, it feels very kind of like claustrophobic a little bit. But I don't know if that's the visual that they were going for, but I love that. But then Ilya is just on the phone. He's just like, "You need to get back over there with Dad because that's what I'm paying you for." And then afterwards, when he's back with Shane, he tries to fake it and tries to pretend as if nothing was happening. But then Shane's just like, "Well, how's your dad?" And Ilya turns to Shane and he's just like, "So you speak Russian now?" And Shane's just like, "Well, I know the word for father." But this kind of does reignite the mood a little bit. And again, it's like Ilya has just a switch. Because upon hearing this, he's all lovey and touchy again, like nothing ever happened. Like only a minute before, he wasn't just yelling at his brother about his dementia-ridden father. It's just so strange. But it's clear that he does find a comfort in Shane that he can't find anywhere else. And then the two of them hook up and it happens. And this is a scene that I will literally pull up to play.
Shane.
He says Shane. And then he says Ilya. Now, this is a boundary that neither of them ever crossed. And immediately, this completely freaks out Shane. And he just pulls up his wall again and he just tries to get out of there. And Ilya is visibly shocked. He's confused. He's like, "Are you serious right now?" And just the look on his face again. And I think what really kills me is that he reverts back to calling him Hollander. Like, he's like, "Hollander, it's okay. We're okay. We're good. I'm still Rosenov to you and you're still Hollander to me. We can fix this. See? I'm doing it right now. Hollander, you know?" But like, Shane's just like, "No, I can't do this right now." And that space between them grows. And then Shane leaves Ilya alone. So then fast forwarding, we then get a call from one of Shane's teammates called JJ. And JJ tells Shane to come to a bar called Miles End. Apparently, the cast of X Squad, aka, you know, this universe's version of X-Men, is being filmed there. Or down there in like the general location, I don't remember exactly. And he tells Shane, "Okay, bring your ass here now." So while he's there is one little moment that I was a little nervous about, and I thought Shane was going to hook up with his little bartender right here, but that didn't happen. Interesting note though is that he does end up having beer instead of ginger ale, but this is the fault of the bartender because the bartender did say that they did have ginger ale. He just didn't give it to him because Shane gave in to peer pressure right there. And I blame you, bartender. But anyways, at the bar, Shane ends up meeting Rose Landry. She is basically this universe's Jennifer Lawrence. And you'll see what I mean a little bit later when we actually get to that scene later on. But it is so interesting because they hit it off right away. Like, she tells Shane's the project she's been in and how it's weird that, like, she mostly plays, you know, people who've been kidnapped. It's a very sweet and fun scene, and it shows that, you know, how personable Shane can be, even when he's not with Rosanov. and they actually hit it off rather well. So well, in fact, that they end up dating. And Ilya gets whiff of this and he is kind of in shock, and he's just like, what world am I in? Like, what's happening? And I think this is the first time where we actually see Ilya on the receiving end of jealousy, because he's seeing Shane being happy without him. And I don't think this is meant to be something where Ilya is just like angry at Shane, but it's more so the fact that Shane is just happy or finding happiness with someone else that isn't him. While he, on the other hand, is just not in the best of moods right now or in the best mental headspace. Anyways, later that night, both Shane and Ilya are at the same club and things get messy. Or rather, things get complicated. So Ilya sees one of Rose Landry's close friends, and that's the guy that ends up eyeing Ilya at the bar. And Ilya, it immediately clicks for Ilya. If you're here, then that means Rose is here. And if Rose is here, then that means, oh shit, that means Shane is here too. And he sees Shane, and he sees Rose and Shane just dancing all up on one another. And this is when the jealousy just hits new heights. And then things get interesting because Shane sees one of Ilya's teammates, and now he's like, oh shit, if Ilya's teammate's here, then that means Ilya might be. And now he's looking around, and then he sees him. He sees Ilya dancing with another woman, and Shane does not like that. So while they're all dancing, he then says, I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be back in a little bit. And as he's going to the bathroom, this is when Shane just eyes him down, and Ilya makes eye contact with Shane, and he knows he's watching. And now Shane understands that Ilya is doing this just to spite him. And now what Shane ends up doing, he ends up going home with Rose Landry. And now that sends Shane in the mindset of, if Ilya can do it, then so can I. And I feel so bad for Rose in this situation just because of the fact that, like, this has nothing to do with her. She genuinely loves Shane. Or rather, she's genuinely attracted to him. Maybe love is too early, but that doesn't change the fact that she has feelings for him. And then we get our two defining shots, and it shows that even when he's with Rose, his mind is still elsewhere. And that is just so sad. I wish I could play the song to this because this entire scene is just iconic. This is my second 10, by the way. Oh my God. Now, like, I swear, after episode 3 is just when the floodgate of 10s start coming in. I try my best to be very critical and not throw around 10s all willy-nilly, but like, this show to me is just so well executed, it's impossible for me not to. But anyways, let's move on to episode 5. So to kick off episode 5, called I'll Believe in Anything, we see Rose Landry getting up and leaving Shane in bed. And Shane apologizes, saying that, he thinks it was just stress because of the game, stuff like that, to make up for him not being able to perform. And Shane is just, it's clicking. Being with women for him is not as easy as it is for Ilya. Rose then meets with Shane to better talk about everything that happened. And she tries to inch around things in order to not make him feel cornered or embarrassed, and she tries her best to actually open up to Shane, or rather, to get Shane to open up to her. She even uses these metaphors of a square peg in a circle hole. And I love this. She is being so supportive, and Shane is picking up exactly what Rose is putting down, and she is being Shane's first safety net, someone he can actually confide in about all of these things. And Shane finally opens up and says, you're right, I am attracted to men. And Rose, this queen, she is so supportive. She does not feel embarrassed or insulted or anything. And she actually, even makes a joke about how, like, she's totally fine with this just because of the fact that, she was a theater kid growing up. So she said like 80% of her boyfriends turned out to go out with men afterwards. So it's just like, there's a level of comfort in Rose, and she's allowing Shane to feel whatever he needs to feel without making him feel like he did something wrong or like there's something wrong with him. And I love that. I love that he was able to find that support system in Rose that he couldn't have gotten, or that he hasn't gotten anywhere else yet. And then Shane makes the joke back saying that, like, well, now that we're on the topic, I prefer to be the hole in the peg. You know? And I was just, oh my God, Shane. But this entire sequence was beautiful. And I do not want to take the scene by just making it funny. There is this one moment, this glint, this, you can see the tears, just welling up inside of his eyes as he's just hearing, how supportive Rose is being and allowing him to feel and be honest and get all these things off of his chest that he has not been able to do with anyone. Like, imagine how freeing that is, knowing that, like, there's nothing holding you down. There's no weight. It's just somebody accepting you and letting you feel whatever you need to feel. And being like, I see you and I understand you and I love you still. And you can tell that he's scared. You can tell that this is the last thing that he might have even wanted to talk about tonight. But the fact that he now has this opportunity, it just opened up so many different possibilities for him when it comes to having someone to talk to, someone in his corner. That is a wonderful feeling. And by the end of it, Rose does not distance herself. Instead, she says, you know what? Let's be the best of friends. Let's be best friends. I will be here for you. And that is, again, that's exactly what he needs. This wasn't a goodbye, Shane. Since this doesn't work, I don't want to be around you anymore. You're an ex now. I don't want to talk to my exes, that type of thing. It's just, okay, we tried our best, but chemically in your brain, it's just not going to work. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. So the best we can do is just be besties. And I love that. And then we are with Svetlana, my girl, and with Ilya. And this, again, it's just constant, just amazing peak woman. These women, they are just holding up our kings, and I love it. The topic of Shane is brought up once again in front of Ilya. And Svetlana tries her best to inch Ilya towards some level of admittance, right? And she brings up the fact that, wow, he's gorgeous and he's good. And Ilya is just kind of playing into, he's good. And Svetlana looks over at him just like, he's gorgeous. I love this girl with every fiber of my being. She is just the perfect woman. But, again, there's this constant lingering denial that she is very well aware of when it comes to Ilya and having these walls up when the topic of Shane comes up. And then she brings up, them teaming up together at the All-Star. And then there's this cute scene where just like they're just playing around and, it's like it shows that they truly are, the best of friends. There's no romance with them. There truly is just no strings attached when it comes to, Svetlana loving Ilya for him being Ilya. And she's okay with that and he's okay with that. And it's just, I love it. But she does briefly bring up Rose Landry when Ilya is laying on her lap and how she dresses so nice and she wonders what she's going to wear. And in that moment, there is a tiny mood change. And I feel like, again, it's just that little hint of jealousy, just knowing that Rose is getting what Rosanov wants, But alas, he's stuck here while she's likely with Shane, But of course, he doesn't know what we know in regards to how that ended, but it hurts all the same. And now we are in Tampa Bay for the All-Star game, and we're getting to the good stuff. Shane sits down with Ilya, and the two of them are talking, and Ilya notices, you're dressing up quite well now. But this is where Shane reveals to Ilya, I bought me a stylist. and Ilya just can't stop. He can't help but laugh. But while they're together, he does ask, so you're not doing this for Rose? Where is she? All that kind of stuff. And Shane's just like, she's not here. And no, I wasn't doing this for her. I was doing this for me. I wanted to up my style. And then when it comes to his relationship status with Rose, he says it didn't work out because they were not compatible. And I swear you can just feel the relief just radiating from the screen when you just see Ilya looking into Shane's eyes and knowing that there's still a chance for them to be together. And then fast forwarding, we have a really cute pool scene where Ilya is playing with a bunch of kids pretending to be like a shark. It is so adorable. And meanwhile, we also see them playing hockey together on the same team. It's just so good. And it's just like you're seeing what could be. And now there's this one point where Ilya just straight up kisses Shane on the cheek. And I was like, oh my God, you know? But again, it's like the heat of the moment kind of thing. I feel like that just happens in sports, so it wouldn't be too weird, especially knowing, how competitive these two are and how much history they have in the hockey space. I feel like people would just be like, wow, the two rivals putting aside their differences in order to, to get wins together in the All-Star game. It's just like, I feel like a lot of people would look at it from that light instead of anything romantic. And then we get this beautiful scene. It's just Shane and Ilya just sitting in the most beautiful sunset I've ever seen. And then I love this little conversation that they have where Ilya brings up the word compatibility because he tried to understand what it meant after Shane brought it up to him about him and Rose. And he was trying to better his understanding of what being compatible truly is, to better, reaffirm his assumptions. And this just shows how serious Ilya is. He's so worried that he could be misinterpreting what was said. And in order to not get his hopes up, he double checks himself and makes sure he understands what the word compatible means. And I'm just like, wow, that truly does show what Shane means to him. Even though neither of them have truly told one another just yet what all of this means to them, it's there. It's resonating and it's not going away. The two then end up later meeting in Ilya's room where they begin to have their first real heart-to-heart. And Shane no longer wants to play these games. He straight up just tells Ilya, or says to Ilya, are you feeling what I'm feeling here? What this feeling is no longer just a little fling I want to have with you. I want more from this. And I know you feel this way too. We have Shane coming to terms with him being gay and him even calling it as such. And again, I love this. For some reason, and for so many in fiction and also in real life, the word gay is just so hidden. And I love that we're getting this from Shane where he's no longer hiding or feel like he needs to when he is around the person that he wants to spend his life with and explore these feelings with. And then Shane also does apologize for leaving so suddenly because he got spooked when Ilya said his name, his first name. Yes, Shane said Ilya's name in response, but Ilya said it first. And then having these sudden feelings come around after so many years of them sticking to, oh, Rosanov, oh, Hollander, having that slip out like that, in such an intimate moment. Reality rushes in fast, and then you realize there's a lot more going into this than just a quick hookup. And that put a lot of things into perspective for, I believe, both of them, but especially for Shane in that moment. And by the way, Ilya does try to give Shane an out. He tries to simplify things one more time, and he's just like, hey, we just hook up and that's it. It's simple. And to that, Shane's just like, no, it's not that simple, and you know that just as well as I do. And then it's finally time to get personal, and Ilya asks Shane, why are you telling me all of this? And Shane is just like, well, who else am I going to tell? Which is very true, because in this life that they are living, they are very limited on people who can and will understand this, at least from their perspective. Then they go back to the actual time before Shane ran away, the day they both said their first names while they were being intimate. And Shane admits that was nice. And that's something that he wants more of, that he wants to go back to. Yes, he knows that he ran away, but he's not run away from that now. He now knows what he wants. And now the ball is in Ilya's court. And Ilya's court is complicated. And it has a lot of rules. And then Ilya just straight up says, yes, that was great. And Shane's just like, it felt like we were something. And Ilya just says, we can't be. And the key reason for that is because that means Ilya will never be able to go home. And why? The way that he strictly just put it, because Russia. And to that, Shane's just like, well, what would your parents say? And this is when Ilya actually confides in Shane for the first time in regards to his familiar situation when it comes to his parents. His father is police, his brother's police, and then Shane asks about his mother. And his mother is unfortunately dead. He just says that it happened when he was young and he leaves it there. Then he goes into his father and he says that his father's old fashioned, he's sick, and he reveals to Shane that his father has dementia. And this gets me. Oh my God, because Ilya is finally vulnerable. He begins to cry, and Shane gets on top of him, not sexually, but to comfort him, and he begins to like cradle him. It's just so beautiful. And oh my God, like the two of them just embrace, and it just feels, like they're like we're making real progress now. Both of them have torn down their walls and they're seeing each other, and it's just so nice. It's no longer just flames, and I love this for them. Oh my God, how much I'm invested in this fictional relationship is nuts. So the two of them begin hanging out again, and while they're hanging out, something very worrying happens, at least to me. And that's the fact that Alexei has been blowing up Ilya's phone constantly. And each time, Ilya doesn't answer. That is until after he wins his game. And I want to actually play this scene because this gave me chills.
Что ты хочешь?
God. Like the way the music just cut out like that, it made my heart drop. I knew immediately what went down. I knew immediately that Ilya's father had died. There's no other reason for Alexei to call, as profusely as he did. And the fact that he hadn't received any calls from his father at all, it was only just Alexei. I think it was just like, it was bound to happen. And I was like, oh no. Just when all these good things are happening to him, there's just this massive boulder just rolling down the hill, waiting to flatten anything in its path. And, man. But anyway, Shane is told that Ilya didn't go home with his teammates and that no one knows where he is. And Shane immediately is just like, what? And then in that moment, he texts Ilya, are you okay? And there is no answer from Ilya for a while. Until later that night when Shane is reading and Ilya, the way that he just, again, it's so scary because I never know what to expect from Ilya. But when Shane picks up, Ilya seems fine. He even compliments Shane on his glasses and tells Shane to put the glasses back on. And Shane does exactly that too. No attachment there. But he does tell Shane what happened, and he does say, my father did die. And seeking some level of comfort, Ilya goes back to the basics, and he tells Shane, well, hey, what would make me feel better? Take your clothes off, but put the glasses back on. But over in Moscow, Ilya is eating with his family, and his brother, Alexei, is just eyeing him down. I am so sick of Alexei. But he looks over at Svetlana, and I guess he says something along the lines of, I'll be back. And this is when Alexei confronts Ilya, and the entire thing is just gross. Alexei is very clearly just trying to stay financially supported with Ilya. As you know, Ilya was paying Alexei to look after their father, and now that the father is dead, Alexei does not have a healthy source of income that he can look forward to because the father's dead. And understandably so, Ilya is mad and is just like, our father just died. I haven't thought about anything else. And Alexei's trying to guilt trip Ilya, and he's saying, what about me? I have a family to take care of. I have kids, all this stuff. And Ilya is just like, I don't want to think about this right now. Why are we doing this? Why is this my problem? And then hearing all the commotion, Svetlana goes in to check on Ilya and Alexei, well, primarily Ilya, and he calls Svetlana a whore. And Ilya loses it. And I love that because he's saying, you can say whatever shit to me, but don't you ever disrespect my people. Svetlana is home. More home than you are. Like, that's my ride or die. You do not disrespect my ride or dies. But after things calm down, Ilya says, Alexei, you can have my apartment. I will add money into a trust for my niece that she can touch when she's 18. But if you ever contact me again, I will use every bit of fame and notoriety that I have gotten all of these years to destroy you. And Alexei takes the hint. Then Svetlana and him share a beautiful moment where Ilya says, I don't deserve you. And Svetlana's just like, you do. And it is so, oh my God. I love it because like it shows they love one another and they say as much too. Ilya says, I love you. And she says, I love you too. And then she reassures him and says, I'm not going anywhere. And I've said it a billion times, but the women in this show, oh, they are our boys' rocks. Kip has Elena, Shane has Rose, and Ilya has Svetlana. All of them are just, oh, they're all just like tier 1 ride or dies. And I hope we continue to see them in season 2. And then Svetlana says, I just hope Jane knows how lucky he is. And I yelled. I was just so, for somebody who knew or had a suspicion that Svetlana knew this entire time or had an idea that she knew what Ilya was up to, that's the perfect thing to say. She then kisses Ilya on the cheek and leaves him alone to collect himself. And like his face, like, oh my God, I would love their relationship. And I love the fact that she didn't pry. She didn't tell him, tell me everything. She just left it there because she trusts he will tell me when he's ready. Right now, I'm fine with just knowing that Jane exists and that he has someone that he loves. And though this day has been just so heavy for Ilya, just knowing that Svetlana is there to back him up and be there for him when he needs her, I couldn't be more satisfied. And then the call with Shane happens, and this monologue, oh, I wish I could play it. So Shane has this idea, and he says to make himself, as an Ilya, feel better, say everything that you're feeling right now in Russian. So then there is no stress, there's nothing. And Ilya pours his heart out. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to read it. He says, I never want to come back here again. I fucking hate it here. And they all fucking hate me. I pay for everything. I make sure everyone has clothes they like. I make sure the food is perfect. That father is buried next to his parents. That the tomb is perfect. And the only word I ever hear is, I want more, Ilya. I need more, Ilya. More. And I have nothing for these people. I give them everything, but I feel fucking empty. They don't care. They look at me and they see a bank or an enemy, or I don't even know what. My brother, he always hated me, and I know why, but it kills me. And I think it kills me that he took care of my father and I didn't. Oh my God, I'm just reading it. Holy shit. But I couldn't. I wasn't here. I still paid for it all, and he will never forgive me for any of it, for existing, and it means I have no one now. Well, not no one. I have Svetlana. She loves me, and I love her, but not like I love you. Like, what? How is this episode not a 10 to people? It's so, oh my God. That's the worst part of all of this. That all I want is you. It's always you. I'm so in love with you and I don't know what to do about it. Okay, I'm done. Oh, like that entire, I hope, man, give these people all the Emmys. Like this show is just fantastic. I'm just giving a review. I don't know how many times I've either cried or near cried throughout this entire recording session. But it's so good. Oh, this video is going to be so long. I don't even know how I'm going to put it on TikTok. And then Shane just says, maybe you could teach me Russian someday. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then fucking Ilya, He then makes this joke of like he'll only teach him useful phrases like harder please and yes sir and stuff. But like that entire sequence is just beautiful. But anyways, oh my god, I'm taking too long on this episode. Let's keep going. The two of them have their next game against one another, and things are going well. And then Shane turns around and he just gets smacked, just knocked out, and it's just, you can tell just by the look on Ilya's face that he is just in shock. He is just horrified. And then while Shane is just being rolled away, all he's saying is like, tell him I'm fine. And the people around him thinking like, oh, he means his father or something. Hey, you know, your coach is calling your dad. And Shane's just like, no, not him. Ilya. He's going to worry. Tell Ilya. And like, damn, even in this moment, he's worried about what Ilya is feeling right now. Like, what? This show, if you told me in episode 1 this show would make me feel these types of emotions this constantly, I would have called you nuts. But fast forwarding a little bit, Ilya visits a very drugged up Shane in the hospital, and this is where Shane invites Ilya to his cottage during the summer. And Ilya is just like, I don't know, that's not a good idea, you know, that kind of thing. And Shane is just insisting. He says, don't go back to Russia. Come to my house and we will have the most fun. And you can see on Ilya's face that like just hearing that is just such a relief. But to that, Ilya just says maybe. And then they're interrupted by one of the nurses coming in, and Ilya takes that as his cue to leave. But fast forward again, now Shane is recuperating and he is speaking with Rose Landry. And this is what I was talking about earlier about her being this universe's Jennifer Lawrence. Because in the background, well, obviously her skin is being painted blue. And she says, I don't know, I don't remember if she says this character makes no sense or like this movie makes no sense. But she's Mystique from X-Men. And you can even see the wig in the background, the iconic crimson red wig. And I just thought that was just so funny. Okay, I just checked. She says this movie makes no sense. But really the only key thing about this phone call that's important is the fact that Rose is trying to get Shane to tell his parents that they're no longer together. And also, as a way to like kind of give him like I guess like an alibi, she says that Shane has permission to say that Rose is a lesbian and Shane was only acting as her beard. And it's just a really cute moment just because of the fact that like Rose is still showing to be very involved in Shane's life, even though they aren't together romantically anymore. But anyway, Shane and Yuna are watching Ilya's game, and it's the third period. And she is very observant, by the way. She can tell that that Ilya is injured. And she even guessed where he's injured at, and that's his ribs. And Shane is just like, how do you know that? And his dad chimes in and just says, well, she's a witch, you know? And now in regards to, you know, Shane's feelings towards Ilya, Yuna notes that, you know, it's changed over time and that she hates Ilya less because Ilya actually came to visit Shane in the hospital. So that much Shane did actually tell his mother. So we're making progress. Oh, and she also says good for Scott Hunter, and she guesses that he will be winning the cup this year. And I'm like super excited now because I'm just like, good, he's still thriving. And then later that night, there's this moment between Shane and Ilya while they're texting. And Shane asks, how are your ribs? And then Ilya says that it's good. And then he checks up on how Shane is doing. And he says that he's good, or I guess he's doing better. And then he asks if Ilya is bummed about not winning. And Ilya's like, well, what do you think? But now let's go ahead and skip on to the cup itself. They're finally watching the game, and Yuna was right once again. Scott Hunter is 100% going to win the cup this year. And Shane even texts Ilya and was like, yeah, she was right. Then Ilya says that he's irritated, but he's hot, referring to Scott Hunter. But yeah, Scott Hunter wins the cup, and he's hoisting it in the air. You know, he's celebrating, he's skating around. And then in the crowd, we see Elena, we see Kip, and we see his father there. And the fact that Kip is still supporting him and going to his games, like, I love that feeling. Even if it's just the big one that he went to, I love the fact that he was there in this moment. And then as Scott is skating around, you have Elena, the queen over here, saying, it's okay to be sad, and like all these things just to reassure him that like what he's feeling is normal. And then you get this scene of all the hockey players going to their families and just like really just like showing Scott doesn't have anyone. His parents are dead. His lover is in the stands. So then he feels lonely. And now he's just like, whoa, I don't have anyone to celebrate this big moment with. And then he looks up in the stands and he's just like, you know what? Hold on. Everyone then begins to notice something is up. Svetlana notices, Ilya notices. Scott Hunter is looking for somebody in the crowd. And he's looking dead at Kip. And this is where things get good. Even Shane is like, huh? And then Kip comes down from the stands and Scott takes him onto the ice. And Kip's just like, you don't have to do this. You do not have to do this. And everybody is just watching in awe. And then we get a zoom in on like everyone's face. And then out of nowhere, not even out of nowhere, you can feel the tension. You can feel the love. They kiss. And it's just like this massive eye-opening moment that's widely broadcasted and everyone's just like, whoa, no way. So Ilya gets up from his seat and he goes in the other room and he calls Shane immediately. And Shane picks up and the only thing Ilya says is, I'm going to the cottage. And Shane is just like, oh. This, again, another 10 out of 10 episode. I love the fact that like that was like the perfect ending, the perfect episode. So much happened that it's just how they're able to pack so much into a 50-minute episode is nuts. But goddamn, it was good. But anyways, one more episode. Let's do it. Oh my God, this is a long video. Moving on to episode 6, The Cottage. We are opening up the episode with Scott Hunter giving a speech and man, he says how interesting of a month this entire experience has been, especially being so open with his love for Kip. And understandably so, that kiss and him finally coming out in such a public way has a lot of people talking. He then talks about how fans have been reaching out to him and telling him how, important it was for, Scott to come out like this. He then goes on to say that when he was a teenager, he realized that he might be that thing that hockey players throw around as an insult. And he goes on to say that holding a secret like that is just exhausting. And not only that, but it's a non-stop effort that gets lonely because it keeps you from experiencing so many things and getting to know yourself while also getting to know people that you want to spend your life with. He then not only thanks his teammates and everything for their support, but he also thanks Kip personally. Not only that, he says he loves Kip on live television. And I'm just like, I just love. And just seeing Kip surrounded by all of his friends and them being able to witness the kind of man that Scott Hunter is finally after all this time. It's just, I love it. But anyways, fast forwarding, we are finally in Ottawa and we have Ilya in the car with us to go to the cottage. Oh my God. And I love this little detail of Shane carrying Ilya's bag because he knows that his rib is injured and like, oh my God, it's so cute. But this cottage itself is nuts. And Shane reveals that, hey, I got this personally built, And Ilya reveals he did actually end up watching that interview that we saw, I believe, in episode 4, I think. And it's where Shane is doing like yoga outside of the cottage. But it's just such a cool thing because like it shows again that Ilya is paying attention and Shane is just like, oh God. Then Shane offers to give Ilya the tour and Ilya is just like, absolutely not. I've been waiting for months to do this. And this shocks Shane now because originally Shane was warning Ilya, hey, just a heads up, I might not last long because it's been a while. And Ilya says, yeah, it's been a while for me too. And Shane is just like, are you serious? You haven't hooked up with anyone? And Ilya's just like, no, I haven't. Not since you. And oh God. God. That just makes all this the more worth it. And Ilya stops Shane from letting down the blinds. And I love that too. It's just like the level of comfortability now is just through the roof. And then after they have their fun time, they have burgers and talk for a little bit. And the goal of this entire week-long little cottage stay is to get to know as much of the other person as possible. And I love this because it's basically both of them agreeing, they're going to let down their walls and let each other in fully. Whatever you want to know, just ask. And it's great. And I love that Ilya, opens up the conversation, while they're eating burgers, and he says, "How are David and Yuna?" He remembered Shane's parents' names. And then he's just like, "Tell me about them." And he holds this genuine interest the entire time. He doesn't call Shane boring or anything. It's just like, when you compare this to episode 1 Ilya versus this Ilya, it's just night and day. And then Ilya asks, why hasn't he told his parents, about him being gay? And Shane doesn't really have an easy answer for him, because every way that Shane thinks about it, he thinks of this as this opening up more doors to more questions. And then Ilya just tells Shane, you can tell them, that you're gay without mentioning me. And the interesting part in all of this is the fact that Shane doesn't believe that his parents would like freak out or anything, but there's still this level of discomfort in doing this. But again, in terms of them just getting all this out in the open and being transparent with one another, I think that just opens a new level of trust. So when this time does happen and it is time to actually open their lives up to more people, it'll be much easier to do that, knowing that like they do have this level of understanding of one another that makes them want to go out and do these things together. So then it's not as difficult when that time comes. And then nighttime comes around and Ilya is staring down at Shane's phone after he receives a text from Rose, and Shane is just like, "It's just Rose, we're just friends." And Ilya's just like, "Oh yeah, well, friends who, had something going on, like you two had sex." And Shane's just like, "It was only twice, and both times ended in disasters." There's this one scene, a loon is heard in the distance, and this freaks Ilya out. Like, this dude thought it was a wolf. He was like, "What was that?" Like, birds can make that noise. It's just like the entire atmosphere. All this is new to him, and it's adding so much to Ilya's character. And I love the side of him. And honestly, out of all the episodes, this made me feel the most bubbly, even compared to episode 3, which is nuts. I didn't think I was going to get that same feeling again, but here we are. Shane then tells Ilya to tell him about his mother. And I think this was the first time where I was kind of just nervous. I was nervous for Ilya because I was not sure if he would be prepared to be so personal so soon. Not on this level. Ilya asking about Shane's very much alive parents is very different about Shane asking about Ilya's very much dead parents, So like when he did ask, I was just so nervous, but Ilya handled it perfectly. He stayed calm and he did what they both agreed to do, and that's sharing everything with one another. And Ilya reveals, even how his mother died, and it's due to an overdose. And he says he's the one that found his mother at the age of 12. And it was just, oh my God, like the way that he's saying all of this while he's just laying in Shane's lap, it's just it's beautiful, but it's so heartbreaking at the same time. And the way that he talks about his mother, bro, it's just like, he says his mother was a strong woman, but she was just so sad. Yeah. And then he tells Shane, after a little bit of silence, that like, he doesn't want Shane to believe that his mother was weak. And oh my God. Like, how the hell do you... Jesus. There are so many episodes where I'm just like an emotional wreck like I am right now, but it's even worse because experiencing it for the first time, you're just like, oh my God, but like it's real, And I love the fact that like they have these mature ass conversations and they don't shy from this type of stuff instead of it just being a super, super happy story, or rather just keeping Ilya two-dimensional instead of just like this complex ass character. Like his character expands so far. I think out of everyone, Ilya's character is just easily one of my favorites. Actually, he is my favorite in this series. His character just keeps evolving. Like the more he opens up, or the more we just see, when he's back home, or even with Svetlana, it's just wow. He has so much depth, and I'm so excited to see exactly where we go from here in season 2. But I'm not going to talk about that because I'm scared that we're very, very excited fans might not be able to help themselves. But yeah, this entire scene is just beautiful. And there's this one moment where Shane asks, if Ilya wants to go back inside after the loon kind of ruins the moment. And Ilya says no, and he stares into the fire. I'm bringing this up because earlier on in the episode, when they just sat down, around the fire, Ilya was just like, "Is this all we do? We just stare at a fire?" He was very just like put off at the idea of just like, this is like fun to you or relaxing or whatever. And now you have him laying in the man he loves lap, and he's just staring into it, vulnerable, and it's just it's poetic and it's beautiful. And again, I said this a billion times, but I love it. So the next day they wake up together and it's time for day 2 of the cottage. Now the two of them are playing Chell until Hayden calls, and Ilya is he's such a bad influence. While Shane is trying to have a very serious conversation with his friend who just had a baby, Ilya wants to get frisky. Like it got so bad that Shane had to put Hayden on hold, and he was just like, "What are you doing? Stop it!" And Ilya's just like, "Okay, here's a bet. I will leave your nether regions alone if you don't get hard." And let me tell you, that bet didn't last too long. Because Shane, he just couldn't help himself. And Ilya is just like, "Oh, wait a minute. You lost that bet. Look down. It's up." And while he is on the phone with Hayden, Ilya is just like slapping Shane across the face and all this stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God, Hayden, there's no way you don't hear something like this going on. But anyways, after he puts Hayden on hold and he makes the excuse, "Oh, I had to run and, I had an Amazon package." He is out of breath. And on the side, Ilya is just like, "Oh, yay," But he's able to end the call with Hayden, and Ilya is he's proud of himself. And he was like, "Why was that so hot?" And Ilya says, "Because you like to be bad." It's just like, again, I love this cottage. Like this entire episode so far, it has just been perfection. But Shane does remind him, hey, that's not all what this is. That was the old us. The new us, there's more to this than just sex. And I love that, he's holding themselves accountable, saying, I want more from you. I want more from all of this than just one thing. And it's clear that's what Ilya wants too. Now, this scene, Ilya proposes marrying Svetlana to get an easy citizenship. And this is very outside of Shane's comfort zone, and he just does not like the idea. Because he's like, "But you like girls." And not only that, but like you've told me you've been you've been with her multiple times. So it's just like that level of discomfort is very understandable. I do not blame Shane for that. But Ilya is just saying that, she's his friend and he knows that she would do this for him. And again, it would be easy citizenship that way. But Ilya is looking at this in a way that he doesn't, fully realize how much, hearing something like that bothers Shane, or rather not immediately, But again, they're both shopping ideas in order to figure out, the easiest solution. And I do agree in terms of getting an easy fix for something, this is up there. There aren't many options. If they don't plan on coming out, then this is an easy alternative solution. And honestly, I kind of do wish that Svetlana and Shane have had at least gotten one chance to talk, especially after during episode 4, Ilya tells Shane that Svetlana likes him. So it would have been kind of nice to actually get that at least one interaction between them, but I get it. But anyways, Ilya tries to make Shane feel better by saying, there's all these beautiful women that want me and that, that wants to be with me. And I've slept with so many beautiful women, but there's this one hockey player that I just can't get out of my head. And the cute little smile that Shane has when he hears, like this reassurance, I was just like, wow. But I do also want to highlight from Shane that just hearing the possibility of losing Ilya in this way, that being marrying Svetlana in order to get citizenship, you can see the hurt and the pain and the worry in his eyes. And he's near on the verge of tears. And all he says to Ilya in that moment is just, don't marry Svetlana. Just don't. And I love the transparency. I love Svetlana to death. But hearing Shane, vocally say what he does and does not want after so long of keeping his feelings concealed and just, held down. Because again, I just think about that moment back from episode 2 where he backspaces that we didn't even kiss text. Like there's so much stuff that he felt like he couldn't tell Ilya at the time. And now they're at this level of their relationship where they can say and tell each other anything. And that's beautiful. But anyways, during the middle of the night, Shane wakes Ilya up and he says, hey, I have an idea. Let's change our narrative. Right now, we are rivals. But if you go to Ottawa, as in play for Ottawa, we can change our narrative. Instead, we can just be best friends who play for different teams. That way, when they're out in public and stuff, it won't be weird. And then on top of that, start a charity, for something that they both truly believe in. And that would easily, shift their narrative and how people view them in a more favorable light. And then Ilya is just like, you really think that far ahead? And Shane's just like, for this? Yes. And this, just hearing this breaks Ilya. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can picture it in my head. It's just like, it's this beautiful moment where they both are just like vulnerable once again. And then it happens. While Ilya is kissing him, he begins muttering something in Russian. And we don't know exactly what it is until he says it in English. And this is what he says.
I love you. I love you too.
There we go. Yeah. And just like that, we're all locked in. They finally say it face to face, no different languages, nothing. It's just, I love you and I love you too. And it feels so good, man. I'm not going to cry. I've cried so many times during this recording session that I think people are going to think I'm insane. And then we get this gorgeous ass shot where they're both sitting and just, getting a beautiful view of the lake and just the sunset. And wow. The shots in this episode have been fantastic. The cinematography, wow. And then the next day, we have Shane and Ilya in bed where Shane asks Ilya what his mother's name is. And he says, Irina. And then Shane tells Ilya, here we go again. Shane tells Ilya that he was thinking about opening like a hockey school. And they can give money away to a good organization for mental health, more specifically, suicide prevention, in honor of his mother, in honor of Irina. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then you have Ilya who, oh my God, his voice shakes and everything. And he says, she would have loved you like I love you. And I'm just like, it's so good. And then after they get done swimming in a lake, they are trying to figure out what to eat. And while they are discussing what they want, they then kiss. And guess who's in the house? Shane's dad's here. Now, here's the thing. A little earlier, Ilya noted how Shane's phone kept ringing. And of course, Shane doesn't answer because, the excuse that he gave his parents is that, I'm on a silent retreat. And now it's kind of just like a little freak out moment. And I did freak out here for a little bit just because of the fact that we see his dad walk away. Not only that, his dad drove off. Like, that's the worst thing you could do in this moment. So that's where I panicked a little bit because I was like, who would do that? At the same time, I was in a little bit of a disbelief just because from what we've seen from his parents, they are very understanding people. But again, when you are dealing with something this, unfortunately, something that is seen as sensitive, not everybody is going to be as understanding as the next person. So I was like, maybe there is a possibility that this could go sour. And rightfully so, Shane is now freaking out because he's like, oh my God, I've been lying to them this whole time. How am I going to face them? What do I do? What do I say? And Ilya is holding it down. He is so supportive. He's just like, he's giving Shane words of affirmation, just being like, we will figure this out. We're good. And when Shane keeps saying, this is my nightmare, this is my nightmare, Ilya's just like, well, maybe this is your time to wake up. And then they hug. And my favorite part about all of this is the fact that Ilya says to Shane that he will go with him. And doubling up on this part is Ilya is put to the test here a little bit because Shane asks, is that okay? And Ilya says, yes. No hesitation. He says, of course. So the two of them get dressed and ready to leave, but this part is really funny. I just want to bring it up. He wears his Raiders shirt, and Shane's just like, I don't think you want to wear that, especially not right now. And Ilya's just like, what? They don't know I play for Boston. Like, come on now. Oh my gosh. But anyways, let's go ahead and skip forward because I'm spending too much time on this. First off, I love how Ilya is just standing there like a toddler. But this is the first time where we see all of them in one room together. And awkwardly enough, I guess, Yuna didn't know what happened at the cottage because David never told her. But that does not stop Shane from coming out to them anyways. And I love that fact. Shane just straight up tells them right then and there, I'm gay. Ilya's there as well. And very awkwardly, he says, we are lovers. And Shane's just like, stop, that's gross. And just the look on Shane's face, I'll try to find like the perfect screen cap for this, but it's just so good. They all then sit down together at the dinner table and they just try to talk everything out and trying to understand, where did all of this start? I thought you guys hate each other, like all that other stuff. And Shane's just like, no, we did. But like that ended rather quickly. And then they try to pinpoint when things started. And this is where I was talking about, I think very early on, I think in episode 1. And they reveal it happened well early before like rookie season. And I love both of these parents because they're just being understanding, they're listening. And I love this personally for Ilya just because of the fact that he's able to, like in a way, like have another set of parents who are not only supportive, but are recognizing him. And just like, you can tell that he's just on a whole nother level of comfortable now that he has his man by his side. And also, he's seeing how supportive a family can be. Because like he said, his father was very traditional. And not only that, but his father was also police, while his brother was also police. And, of course, he never got to, build this sort of relationship with his mother because she died when he was so young. So I can only imagine for Ilya, this is like a breath of fresh air for him. So after talking for a while, Yuna goes outside and gets some air, and then Shane joins her. And this actually breaks my heart too, because like you have Shane who's apologizing to his mother, saying, I tried my best, I really did. And he's thinking that he's disappointed her in some way. And then his mother is like, no, you should not feel sorry for this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I made you feel like you could not come to me with this, that you couldn't tell me. And it's just such a sweet moment because you see both of them have that same level of regret. And it's not the blame game when it comes to them blaming each other. It's both accountability for their part to play in this. Of course, I understand, and anyone can understand why Shane is hesitant in terms of the industry that he's in. And he has all these different brand deals and such that he has to think about. And then he doesn't want to disappoint his family, his mother, who loves hockey just as much as he does. So piling all that on, I can understand why Shane didn't tell his mother this, because that can put a wrench in a lot of the things that she might have had to sacrifice in order to get Shane the opportunities that he has today. And I'm not just talking about the brand deals, but I'm talking about like the financial side of going pro and the financial side of doing any level of sports. There's a lot of time commitment and just investment that needs to be made in your child to pursue things like this professionally. But anyways, the two of them hug it out and we have officially mended things. And now it's down to business and mama ain't playing. She's already thinking 50 steps ahead. And we can see where Shane gets his overthinking from, thinking so far ahead, because she's already trying to think about, what brand she's going to go after in order to solidify deals when they do decide to go public. But they do make it clear that they don't currently have a plan on going public just yet. They still plan on keeping it quiet until likely they retire. And with that, the mom, just says, that's so sad. Like, again, there's little room for alternatives, but that's just something that they have to figure out as time passes to gauge when's the best time is for them. But this entire conversation just stresses Shane out just because it's a lot to take in at once, especially when you're dealing with the business side of things as well. And not just your relationship, but everything is just like converging into one place. And Shane's just like, oh my God. And then hero Ilya over here is just like, hey, you're good. You're good. Your parents who love you are here. Me, your boyfriend, is also here for you. And this is what wakes Shane up. Shane lifts his head a little bit and he's like, my boyfriend, huh? And Ilya's just like, I mean, yeah. I guess we are boyfriends, huh? And then the two of them finally leave to head back to the cottage, and he says very, very much, we'll text next time. We will text you before we get there. And the two of them get in the car and things are good. And the two of them head back to the cottage and they're literally riding off into the sunset. And I love this so much. The only thing that I wish is that we could hear what they're talking about in the car. This entire season pampered the F out of me. They're all, and they're just so affectionate, and they're massaging each other's necks and the back, it's so beautiful that they're now this level of comfortable with one another after finally getting to that point of feeling like they don't need to hold secrets from one another, and that this is just a situationship. What they have now is real. What they want from this is more than just a simple hookup. And I love that. And I love this final scene of the episode where Shane grabs Ilya's face and he's just like, yeah, we did it. But this entire show easily my favorite show of 2025. I cannot wait. Jacob Tierney, oh, you got your work cut out for you for season 2, because I came into this show originally with very low expectations, and now they're just insurmountable. It's so high, no pressure. I love you. But my attachment to these characters is just undeniable. Not just Shane and Ilya, but honestly, the parents, David and Yuna, you were amazing. But Svetlana, Rose, Elena, step to the front. Y'all are amazing, bro. They are our rocks. And I cannot wait to see what role they play. If they play a major role, please, man. But I can't wait to see what they end up doing with their characters in season 2. But this has been a long video. I am so sorry. I was originally planning on doing at least just little 10-minute reviews per episode, but I couldn't stop myself. I hope y'all don't think I'm insane. But this show is just everything that I could have asked for. If you're in it for the spiciness, you'll absolutely get it. But if you're in it for the romance and just the heart tugs, you are going to be in for a ride. If you watched this far, then you obviously have already seen it. Hopefully, oh God. But anyways, I'm ending the video here, breaking the fourth wall here, breaking the illusion. I just recorded a 4-hour session. This is a 4-hour, long recording session. If you don't know this, probably not because I cut them all out, but I have a very, very, very bad stuttering problem. So this is how long most of my sessions go. And if you see cuts, that's most likely because I was, have a little stutter storm going on. But this is gonna be a pain to edit, y'all. I'm so scared, but I'll see you guys on the other side. I hope y'all enjoyed the show as much as I did. It was just amazing. I have not read the books. I don't think I want to read the books, if I'm being honest. I think this show is just so special to me. And I just want to only experience it like this. Maybe I'll consider the books after I watch season 2. There's a lot of books, by the way, I've been told. So I think, from my understanding, there's like 6 total books or something. So it sounds like an interesting read. So maybe if they don't get renewed or something, but they got renewed for seasons 2 and 3. So I think we're good. But I'm happy, I'm satisfied, and I'm looking forward to season 2. I'll see y'all there, hopefully.